Welcome back to a 34-year-old boomer ranting in his grandparents' house in the Balkans. Tech is boring now. Let's talk about it. So a while ago, one of my subscribers said that technology peaked in the 2000s, early 2000s. And I think they're right. You see, I've noticed that for quite some time now, I haven't cared about any new sort of tech releases. I think it started somewhere around 2015. I just noticed that whatever improvements were occurring with technology, they just stopped being interesting. Because if we go back a little bit to, let's say, the late 90s, I remember the day where I upgraded from Windows 98 to Windows XP. It was magical. I was like, oh, this is... I loved Windows 98, but Windows XP just had... It just had something else, you know? It had, like... It looked really cool, like the green start button, and it was just so beautiful. And I absolutely loved it. It was so exciting to just play around with it and try it out. I mean, it was all buggy and whatever, but it was it was interesting. It was fascinating. And then over time, that just became less and less the case. You know, Windows Vista. I skipped Windows Vista, originally called Windows Longhorn. They were going to have like a cowboy themed Windows. Man, Windows Vista was terrible. Windows 7 was quite solid. I don't know why they jumped from XP to Vista to then 7, skipping 4, 5, and 6, I guess. But the 7 was pretty okay. I did a lot of back in school. I was on Windows 7. That was fine. Probably the last good version of Windows. And then when Windows 8 came out, I just completely checked out. I was like, no, what is this? What's happening here? It just seems like you're just trying to justify some new version of Windows, even though it's just not needed. Which is, I mean, I get it. They want to make money. I get it. But with every new version, with 10 and 11, supposedly 11 was supposed to be the last one, but apparently they're going to do 12. Who cares? Like, I'm just so disinterested. And I just feel like I was born just a little bit late. For example, if you look at various technology sort of fields in technology, they all seem to have peaked generally either before I was born or when I was very, very little. If you look at architecture, for example, it pretty much peaked in the 60s with, mid-century homes. I'm not saying that they are the pinnacle necessarily of architecture. There's a lot of beautiful architecture, but it became very uninspiring after the 60s. Automobile design, I'd say, peaked in the 1970s. For example, if you've ever watched Gattaca, the best film ever made, by the way. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. It features, I believe, a Buick Riviera from 1972. I mean, those things look very, very space age. They look like they're from a time where humanity actually had hope, where people actually thought, oh, we're going to reach for the stars, dude. We're going to have colonies. We're going to have colonies on Mars by 2010, bro. It was built by people who actually thought that was going to happen. It was like, it's almost as if civilization became jaded around that point. to some extent. Like there was this almost like childlike wonder that seems to have disappeared around that time. Aeronautics or aviation peaked like in the 80s with Concorde. Planes are actually they're actually slower now, which is incredible. And computers probably peaked around the 90s. At least to me, peak computer is, oh boy, it's those when you watch The Matrix and Neo is asleep, he opens up to the terminal saying like wake up Neo or something. That computer that he has is pretty much, I don't know, it's pretty much peak computer. It's just nothing that came after that was particularly inspiring. It just feels like it kind of went downhill past that point. And you could say, well, it's because you're a boomer. It's like, listen, I was born in the early 90s. I wasn't around when they built the mid-century homes, and I've never even seen a Buick Riviera in person. I don't have I don't think I'm that out of my mind when I say this. I just look at them, I think objectively, and I go, like I grew up in Eastern Europe in like brutalist in a brutalist apartment block, those typical commie apartment blocks, and they're just nowhere near as beautiful as mid-century homes. For example, I stayed in Finland for 2 months about a year and a half ago, and I happened to stay in a neighborhood that had a bunch of mid-century homes, and they were absolutely beautiful. You walk through this suburbia, it's and it's just like mostly just mid-century homes, and they are so gorgeous. There's just a beautiful mixture of architecture, like beauty and efficiency, because you have the large pane sort of windows, panes of glass, but they're like they have like 2 or 3 layers and like a gas in between them, which also acts as insulation, because that's the big problem. The big problem with the very old houses, and I've stayed in a house at one point that was about 400 years old, like a manor. I didn't own it. I just stayed there for a while, and it was absolutely beautiful. However, the main problem was the insulation. It's like because the windows, it had original window frames, which is beautiful. You should have that. These huge English windows with like counterweights, so when you like pull them up and down, they would stay like just beautiful, right? But it was there was very little insulation. The windows were not insulated, and so mid-century is perhaps an interesting balance between the beauty of architecture, but also some function. The Buick Riviera, that might be just because I really like Gattaca, because Gattaca featured a bunch of 60s and 70s cars that were, at least within the film, they were retrofitted to be electric cars, because this takes place in the future, right? But they understood that there was like a timeless element to these 60s and 70s cars, even in the 90s when they made Gattaca. And I guess my problem with a lot of new tech is that every product now is just every new product is the old product plus the thing, the two-letter thing that they try and force into everything now. I'm so tired of saying that word. I'm not even gonna say it. You know the two-letter thing I'm talking about. Oh, bro, it's really good, bro. Try it out. It's so much better with this thing now. You should definitely use it. Absolutely, please. Please use it. That's just what it's just the thing repackaged. Or it's an old product that used to work just fine, but now it's more expensive and more sluggish and worse for your privacy, because hey, it has the two-letter thing now. It's so much better. And this is just destroying my passion for tech. And I find myself becoming a bit of a Luddite, quote unquote. This is one of the main reasons why I love, using the terminal. This is the main reason why I love using Linux. This is the reason why, even though I have to use a MacBook for my video editing, I've still customized it to a ridiculous degree so that it just looks and feels as much as possible like Linux. And I use the terminal for it just as much as I possibly can. I used to use Obsidian every day. I now pretty much just use NeoVim. And I have Obsidian open just in case there's something I can't do in NeoVim that I can just quickly do in Obsidian, or that I can't be bothered to figure out how to do in NeoVim yet. This is why I love like Unix style applications like grep and sed and all that stuff. It's just because, and Linux itself specifically, because I've been using my ThinkPad T480 running Arch, very nice. I've been using this more and more and more every day, just because I'm even Apple is starting to introduce even more and more two-letter word stuff, and it's just I don't even want to upgrade. Like, I think I'm on like an older version of Mac OS. I don't even want to upgrade to the newest one because it just has all this two-letter stuff built in. I just don't want it. I don't need it. What am I going to do? I've never found myself in a situation where I've had to summarize an email, ever. I just read the email. If someone bothered to write me an email, I'm going to respect them and I'm going to bother to read it. They spend time writing it. I'm going to spend time reading it. And I know I'm kind of behind on, I'm actually kind of behind on emails because I've been getting more emails recently. But I think it's more respectful for me to just spend more time to get back at them with a proper response than it is for me to just use the two-letter thing to just summarize it and then use it to write something for them to read. I don't like that. I don't think that's respectful to do to someone. And I have a suspicion that Linux and open source is just going to blow up a lot more as people get tired of this. Because here's the thing. If this technology was so amazing, you wouldn't have to force people to use it like this. Like, you'd have to lock it away because people would just be so desperate to use it all the time. You'd have to lock it away, but no, they just push it into everything. And the beauty of Linux is that you don't have to have it. You can just, especially with something like Arch, because you can pick and choose. You can be very specific with what you want. You can just decide, hey, I don't want the 2-digit thing. I just don't want any of it in my operating system. Thank you. I'm never going to use that. It's just going to take up more resources. It's going to make my machine slower. It's going to make my machine expire faster because it has to do a bunch of processing and a bunch of stuff in the background. And I just don't need that. I'm never going to use that feature, ever. Like, if I want to use some of it, I'll just boot it up locally, or I'll just go to ChatGPT or whatever, and I'll just ask a question and I'll leave. I don't need to have it integrated with my operating system. There's no need for it whatsoever. And it's just making me so disinterested in new tech. Oh, bro, there's a new phone, bro. It has slightly more RAM, which now costs like 3 times to 5 times more. Isn't that funny? How the thing that they used to advertise new phones with is now making the phones prohibitively expensive. So now saying that you have a lot of RAM in your phone might actually be a problem, because now it's like, oh, so it's more expensive. Yeah. Like, they've kind of reached like peak smartphone, I guess. Like, what are you gonna, like, it's obvious that there's just not, they don't know what else to add to it. It's as peak as it can be without becoming something completely different. What are you gonna do? Like, resolution is already perfect. The refresh rate is perfect. You don't need like 64 gigs of RAM on the phone. You've got the M chips on the newer iPhones. what else are you gonna? They've got decent cameras. I guess you can improve the cameras, but at that point, you might as well just get a camera if you really care that much about taking photos, videos. And it's just, I don't know if this is like a problem in general. It appears to be a problem in general, where they just seem to have kind of run out of ideas on what to do. And this is just destroying my passion for tech. I just want to like use old computers and just run Linux on them and have a computer and an operating system that actually does what I tell it to do. Like if I tell it to make this change in the file, it will just do it. If I tell it to open that file, it will just do it, and I don't have to think about like my computer sending like my tax information to some AI company. Or anything like that. Like, I don't know, man. I'm just becoming jaded a little bit. I don't know if it's like because I'm getting a little bit older or something, or if it's just the times that we live in. But I feel like I'm fighting becoming a little bit jaded. And luckily there are solutions. The solution is just to use Linux. It's just to use open source whenever possible. It's just to use software that respects you. Use Vim, use NeoVim. Like, use software that actually respects you and cares about what your needs are. And donate to those projects. Or, just move into the woods and read books. I guess that's always an option. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.